Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast Why You Do What You Do, the podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about how parenthood affects marital satisfaction. And let's face it, it does. Bringing other little people into the world is a big deal, you know? And it's going to change a woman into a mother, and it's going to change a man into a father. If they're not emotionally ready for that, there can be some problems there. So we're going to take up on that a little bit more. Among young Israeli first-time parents, fathers who saw themselves as caring, nurturing, and protecting experienced less decline in marital satisfaction than the other fathers and felt better about parenthood. Because let's face it, dads, the more you're involved in the parenting, the happier you're going to be with having a family. If you're totally hands off, wife has to do everything, you're just the dad in the background that went to work and got some money, you're not going to be as happy with your marriage or your family. You need to get involved, step up to the plate, be the dad, so that, your family can be happy, and you can be happy and be a participant in your own family that you made. So there we are. Men who were less involved with their babies and whose wives were more involved tended to be more dissatisfied, of course, because like I said, a lot of men fall into that trap where they're jealous of their own kids. Well, she paid me all this attention, and once the kids came into the picture, I felt like she didn't need me anymore. Well, she probably needed you more at that point. You just were too selfish to see it. You were all about you and not about your family. The mothers who became most dissatisfied with their marriages were those who saw themselves as disorganized and unable to cope with the demands of motherhood. So ladies, if being disorganized is something that you're kind of guilty of, you might want to make sure you get that under control before you start bringing other people into the mix. Because let me tell you what, babies are not organized at all. They're all over the place. The sleeping patterns, the eating patterns, the eliminating patterns, what they like to do and want to do. If you're expecting, it's going to be on a timetable and it's going to be perfect, you're going to be sadly disappointed. It's like I read and heard from the mom and everybody, it's going to be like this. And then the reality was, it's not like this at all. And then once I realized I didn't have to keep my baby like that, we were all much happier. Once you are good, like I said, I had friends whose kids had colic and all these problems and everything, and they were forcing them to finish whole bottles and everything. It was terrible. But like I said, mine, they took as much of the bottle as they wanted. When they started spitting out, I put it away. And I had one child who was a heavy baby, and he wanted the bottle about every hour and a half there at first. But then eventually he slacked off of that. And my kids slept in the crib at the foot of our bed. They woke up in the night, we tended to them, they knew they were good. So by the time my children were 3 and 4 months old, they were all sleeping through the night. They weren't getting up and crying, and these horrible people who said let them cry it out in the next room. Oh wow, what you've just taught your child is the world is a horrible, unreliable place. They can't rely on you to get their needs met. Life is hopeless. That's what you just taught your child. By letting them be in the next room crying it out. So any of those cuckoos that tell you that, don't listen to them. How dual earner families cope. And let's face it, nowadays most families have to be dual earner. If you are in a one earner family where the hubby's going to work or the wife's going to work, you're well blessed. You are lucky. Count your lucky stars. Because most people, that the cost of living just keeps going up, but the monies don't keep up with it, as you might have noticed. So most families have to have 2 folks working. Nearly 2 out of 3 U.S. families consisting of married couples with children under 18 are dual earner families, And I think the number's probably even higher than that. That's just all that's reported. Fewer women than ever are taking time out for motherhood. And that's a shame, because motherhood, I think it was the greatest thing that happened to me. I loved being a mom. I loved my little people. I loved watching them grow, and watching the wheels turn, and watching them figure things out. Like that big smile when they finally figure something out and they show you. Like you didn't know that. But it's wonderful to watch these little people grow and learn and become people. I think it's the best thing ever. 2 out of 3 prospective first-time mothers work during pregnancy, which I did during my pregnancies, and 3/4 of these return to work within a year after giving birth. And I did that. I've heard a lot of rumors about me about not working, but if you look at my Social Security statement, you'll see the 3 years where there was no income, and those were the years after my sons were born. I took that year off because we read and heard in parenting class that the first year is the most important. They need to be with someone they trust and love, and is going to give them the best outcome in their life. So I said, I'm taking the first year off because I was working part-time and I could do that, and had a good boss at the time. So I'd take that year off, and then I'd call her back and say, you know what, I'm ready to come back to work. And she'd be like, oh, okay, come on back, we need you. So, it is good to raise your children. I mean, if you don't feel like that, don't have them. I don't know what to tell you. In 1940, women made up 1/4 of the labor force. By 1997, they constituted nearly half of it. So that's a big difference. The women who worked in 1940 probably were widows or single women, and they had to work. Nowadays, most women, like I said, got to help the hubby out, because the days of the one breadwinner are fast going. If that's what you got in your home, good gosh, buzz off in the name of Jesus. Then you're blessed, and you ought to be grateful for that. Some women simply want to be gainfully employed. And my grandmother said to me, always have your own money coming in, because you never know what's going to happen. And now she had a bad opinion of men because of her husband. He was not a very good man at all. He was a pretty bad man, actually. I don't know why gnats want to be in your orifices of your head. I don't know. I would not want to be up someone's nose, but for some reason gnats think that's the thing to do. But yeah, she said a woman should have her own money in case something happens. And the way she said that, you understand that she meant. And I have been divorced a couple times, so I understand that it is helpful if you got your own little nest egg happening. It is important in studying dual earner couples to recognize the diversity of these families, because every family's different, every family dynamic is different. Everybody wants to label and put people and things in containers, and it's not that easy. It just doesn't work. So with a family, it's not the same for every family. Besides the more traditional pattern of a male provider and a secondary provider, usually the woman, there are families in which both earners have high-powered careers and high earnings. And that's great, if they do. And that's certainly going to make it a little easier, on the kids, because they're going to have a much better life, less stress, because they're not in a socioeconomic crisis. There are also many middle-class families in which one or both parents scale back. That's cut back on working hours or refuse overtime. Or turn down jobs. Goodness sakes. I tell you what, these dang gnats. It's hot and all the bugs gone crazy and want to come in your house. That require excessive travel so as to increase family time and reduce stress. And that's something that I ended up doing in my second marriage. The hubby could not handle the kids alone in the evening. It was too much for him. He had a long day at work. And then he, said having to fix them dinner and do homework and all that. That's too much for me. I can't deal with it. And I'm like, I've been dealing with it, every day for however many years. But okay, I digress. So I had to change my working hours so that I could once again be there, for the kids in the evening. So, each family's different. Each family dynamic is different. So you got to do what works for you. Or a couple may make trade-off, trading a career for a job, or trading off whose work takes precedence, depending on shifts in career opportunities and family responsibilities. Now, I have a nephew who he quit working because his wife could make more money, and it would cost them, as much in daycare as, half of what they make. So they decided it was actually cheaper for him to stay home and her work than it was for them to put her in daycare. So they made that decision. Wives are more likely to do the scaling back, which usually means which usually occurs during the early years of child rearing. So most of the time it's the woman, and it's because we're the moms, we're the nurturers, the ones who take care. Usually, it's how we're wired. So usually it's the mom who's willing to make more sacrifices for the kids. Race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, life stage, and social class may make a difference in family choices because all these things come into play. So, like I say, no one family is the cookie cutter. People try to make it that way, but it's not. So everybody's different, everybody's situation is different, and you know what's best for your family, hopefully. Benefits and drawbacks of a dual earner lifestyle. Dual earner marriages present both opportunities and challenges because you're better off financially, but again, if you're both working, there's not a lot of time for other things. On the positive side, a second income raises some families from poverty to middle income status and makes others affluent. It makes women more independent and gives them a greater share of economic power. And it reduces the pressure on men to be providers. Because, like I say, my grandma always said a woman should have her own money, because if you don't, then you are kind of under your husband and he gets to have the say on everything that goes on that involves money. So I personally don't like that. So I do my best to have a little trickle coming in. It's not a lot, but a little something so that I have a say in, what we do. And again, men are under pressure because that's how they're raised, to provide for your family. And a lot of well-meaning fathers say you have to provide for your family, you have to be in charge, you have to be the man. There's conferences that say these things, but that's a lot of pressure on a man to feel like everything of his wife's and children's all hinge on him bringing in this amount of money, and that's a lot of pressure on a man. Some of them just can't handle it. 47% of working wives contribute half or more of the family income. So a lot of women who do work, they put in, half or more. And we're not quite even with the men yet, pay-wise, but we're getting there. Excuse me. Less tangible benefits may include a more equal relationship between husband and wife. Because if one's not in charge and you're not under one, then you don't feel you have to be subservient. And there are folks who preach that, the wife is to be subservient to the husband. I always worry when I hear that, because I'm like, oh, what's going on in your house? But personally and psychologically, Um, you're supposed to be equal partners. You're a partnership. You have become a partnership. You signed a document, it's a marriage license, but you signed a document saying you're going to be partners. So you're supposed to be equal partners. Now, they teach you in couples counseling, just because one's making more money doesn't mean they're in charge of the other one. If both people are contributing, and you shouldn't put up with anybody who's not contributing anything to the relationship. If they're laying on the couch watching TV all day while you're working your butt off, or taking care of the house all day or whatever, that's an unequal yoke. And we were talking about that the other day, about being yoked unequally. And if you have to drag this other person through life, you're not going to be happy because you're pulling all the weight and they're laying there getting dragged, and that's going to wear you out, and then they're going to find themselves maybe without a yoke partner someday, and they'll have to pull all the load, and they won't be up for it because they haven't been doing it. Better health for both, because married couples are healthier in general. Greater self-esteem for the woman, and that's a big thing, because there are a lot of women who don't grow up in a household where women are valued or respected. So they might feel like they are just this little mousy thing that's supposed to take care of this man, and all this stuff. But when a woman gets out and starts to realize she is as capable as a man, can do anything he can do except maybe lift as much weight, which who wants? Okay, there are women deadlifters. They probably want to lift as much weight, but the rest of us, we don't care. And a closer relationship between a father and his children, and that is important, because it's shown that fathers who are involved in a child who has a good relationship with a male-female dynamic do better. They're more well-adjusted. They're better off socially. So, yeah, here we go. Let's see. On the downside, working couples face extra demands on time and energy, conflicts between work and family, possible rivalry between spouses, and anxiety and guilt about meeting the children's needs. So, of course, children are demanding of time, and the house ain't going to take care of itself. So that can be a point of conflict. There are sometimes conflicts between work and family. If your child comes down or with a serious disease or an accident, you're not going to want to be at work. You're going to want to be there with them, helping to take care of them. So, you have to be able to say that you're okay with maybe losing a job, to be there for your child. So it can be conflicting. Oh, and rivalry between spouses is a thing. I've seen it. I think I've experienced it. He never came out and said that, but I think at one point, when I was working and making as much as him, there was some snarky issues about that. All parents have anxiety and guilt about meeting their children's needs, because that's what we want to do. We're worried, can we do it? And sometimes, when we look back, we might have not been as good a parent as we wished we had been. But like they say, hindsight is 20/20. The family is most demanding, especially for women who are employed full time when there are young children. Because if you're employed full time and you have young kids, they're at daycare, grandmas or whoever, and anytime something goes wrong, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to call mom. And if mom's at work, then work is like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with that kid of yours? Careers are especially demanding excuse me, when a worker is getting established or being promoted. So if you're just trying to start out in the field or whatever, you're trying hard. And like I said, I remember there were times when with the ministry and the charity that I used to run, I would be working on something, and I'd run into our playtime or family time a little bit. And my little was pretty good about letting me know it was that time. And I'd be like, okay, honey, just a minute, just another minute. I need a few minutes, you know. And I felt bad about it, but you know, it's what needed to be done because I was a single mom, you know, at the time for 8 years, and you know, bills need to get paid, people needed food to eat and clothes to wear, so you know, I had to do that. But there were times I wish I could go back and redo things, you know, and like, why take that extra 10 minutes or extra half hour or whatever? I could have been in there, you know, having time with them, you know, because once they're grown, and you can't shrink them back down. And man, I wish I could shrink them back down and just give them their little hugs and, you know, kiss them on their cheek and put them in their baby bed, you know. I miss the little people. Both kinds of demands frequently occur in young adulthood. Again, my opinion and the expert opinions are you shouldn't really be having kids in young adulthood. Wait till you're 30, you know, because you need to get yourself established before you start bringing other people into the mix, or you know, there's too many demands on you, you know. Do it in your stages. Go through your stages, you know, and do it rather than hopping around. It's like, well, I haven't really got a good job yet, but oh, now I'm pregnant. Yeah, that's not going to work out so good. Working men and women seem equally affected by physical and psychological stress, whether due to work interfering with family life or the other way around. And I know I suffered some psychological stress. I had a very demanding workplace at one point, and they were not respectful of the fact that my kids needed time. If they called, I was talking to them. I don't care what else they needed me to do, or you know, whoever else was standing there waiting or whatever. No, this is my child. They have a problem or a question or whatever. They've called me. I'm going to talk to them. They come first. Kids come first before the workplace. And you know, they could either take that or leave it, and they understood that, and they took it, but they weren't happy about it. However, men and women may be stressed by different aspects of the work-family situation, and that's because men and women are different, so different things stress us out. Among 314 spouses with relatively high income and education, husbands were more likely to suffer from overload, perhaps because they had not been socialized to deal with domestic as well as occupational responsibilities. Because remember, the guys are supposed to be this macho bread earner kind of guy. So if he's having emotions, he might not know, never was taught, you know, like when I was a kid and we watched those, you know, videos, You and Me Are Free to Be You and Me, and Rosie Greer was like, it's all right to cry. So he might never heard from Rosie Greer that it was okay to cry. So he might be having some emotions and not know how to process them. He thinks he has to be stiff upper lip, keep it all up together for the family, and you know, he might not understand how to process. But you know, excuse me. Women were more likely to feel the strain of conflicting role expectations, the need to be aggressive and competitive at work, but compassionate and nurturing at home. And there are a lot of bosses out there. I've come across some dudes who I feel like should go to jail, honestly, because of the way they treat women. And they expect you to be as bad and raunchy, and you know, if they hit dudes on the butt at work, they think it's okay to hit you on the butt at work too. They need some sensitivity training, and you know, less and less of that's going on in the workplace now, but there's still some crap like that going on here and there. There's people who are not enlightened, to put it nicely. So sometimes you have to be a witch at work, and then you have to become mom once you come in the door. And that's, you know, a transition, but usually for most women that's pretty easy, because those are your little people, and you know, you're usually happy to get home to the little people. Overall, 2 researchers in women's studies suggest combining work and family roles is generally beneficial to both men and women in terms of mental and physical health and the strength of their relationship. So working together and raising a family is actually good for your mental and physical health. And it's also good for your relationship because once again, you're a team. You're in this together. You're, a corporation. You signed a document to be in this with this other person. That conclusion is based on a large body of empirical research, including findings that most psychological gender differences are not large or immutable enough to require highly differentiated roles. So, the psychological difference between men and women does not dictate that men are this, women are this. No. We are just as capable as each other. Now, like I say, we were wired differently for different reasons. Our men were wired to be the big strong guy who goes out and kills Bambi without saying, "Oh," and fights with the other, cavemen to keep us safe. That was their job back in the day. Our job was to be able to quick think on our feet and save our little folks, run, hide, decide what we're going to do. So it behooved us to have 3 times the connections in our corpus callosum, be able to think fast, use our logic and our emotion to, ensure the survival of our children. And other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference. Besides added income, factors that contribute to the beneficial effects of multiple roles include increased opportunities for social support, meaning you both getting friends and work friends and, getting some social support. Opportunities to experience success in more than one arena, meaning, you're not just limited to the home. Oh, I did good. I did good. The house got clean. I made this or that. You're accomplishing something at work as well, and maybe in social things when you go out with people, from work. Balancing of failure or stress in one role by success and satisfaction in another role. Like I said, I come home stressed out, and I was happy to get home. I was happy to be with my little people who, pretty much give you unconditional love. And then I knew there were things to do with them, get the snacks going, get the playtime out there, and, get to sit in my chair and watch them play, and then play with them a little bit. Or, we had different things we did on different days, like watch movies, go to a park or whatever. And that was so much better. I looked so much forward to that. It's like, hurry up work day, get done so I can go home. Broader perspective or frame of reference, so you have more perspective of the world and you know what's going on in the world a little bit more than if you're at home all the time. Increased complexity of the self-concept, which, that's good to have, is, your self-concept shouldn't be just about, all these things itching me, how clean you got your house today, how much laundry you got done, how fast you got dinner made. It should be more than that. Now, those things aren't wrong if that's what you like and what's making you happy. But if you're out working and you're doing something, that also gives you a feeling of, accomplishment. And that's important to your soul. Broader perspective, we went there. Increased complexity, which may buffer swings in mood and self-esteem. Because let's face it, if you expected hubby to come home and congratulate you on this thing, and then he doesn't, that might bring about a mood swing. And like I say, hubby comes home from work. He's looking forward to get home, and you hit him right at the door with something that went wrong, and he's going to have a mood swing. So, and self-esteem, it's important to have self-esteem. We all see people who don't and how their life goes. So, I'm glad I went and got some. And similarity of experiences, which can enhance communication and marital quality. So, if you have the same thing happening, oh man, well, this happened to me at work. Listen, this happened to me. And you're talking and you have, some shared experiences to share, and that adds to the marital quality, that the feeling that you're in this together. However, the benefits of multiple roles depends on how many roles each partner carries, the time demands on each role, And the most important, the success or satisfaction the partner derives from their roles. So if one, like I say, if your significant other is on the couch all day and you're pulling all the weight, that's bad. They need to be pulling some weight too. So if you're pulling all the load, you're going to not be very happy with the roles that you're carrying. And again, time demands on each role. Like I said, the other day, the average mom puts in 11 hours on the kids. Before school, after school, whereas dad puts in 1. So there are time demands that are not equal in doing things. And again, the success or satisfaction that you derive from your roles. If you're in a job you absolutely hate, number one, get a better job. Look and go get it. No one's going to put it in your lap for you. Go get it. But if you're not happy, that'll fall over, And that's what the thing I say, don't bring that home to your family. Don't bring it home to your family. Because it's not their fault. And it's not fair for you to bring that home to your family and take it out on them. The benefits also can be moderated by the extent to which couples hold traditional or non-traditional attitudes about gender roles. And here in the state I live in, there are a lot of folks who have some traditional gender roles. And I'm not really happy with that. Because I've heard these phrases, you're just a woman. Well, it's no, that's just a woman. I'm sorry, didn't a woman give you birth? How did you get here if it wasn't from a woman? Hello. But I don't like that. And even someone saying a woman can't be, I got attacked and told a woman can't be a minister. It's not biblical. And that didn't work out for them folks so well because I took it to a higher authority. But tradition is teaching of men. It is something that we decided this was a thing we're going to do, is our tradition. Traditions can change because when you learn better, you can do better. And society has learned as they go along. So if I hear a man saying no wife of mine's going to work, then I know that man has a problem, and it's all about him and it's not going to be about her, and I'm going to tell her, run, don't walk to the nearest exit, just go. But and again, non-traditional, if, like I say, if the man wants to stay home with the kids while she works, that's fine if that works for you all. You have to decide what works for your family, because every family's different, and you can't put these labels, put people in boxes like everyone wants to do, especially anxious people. They want to organize the world so that it looks like what they want it to look like, and it is what they think it is, because anything that's different causes them some cognizant dissonance, and they're not cool with that. So they gotta put their world into these little boxes and organize it, and it's like, world's a big sloppy messy place, deal with your little corner of it and go on with it. And that's where I'm gonna leave you for today. I hope this helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.